I'm Marcia. I still vividly remember the look on my father's face when I handed him an invoice for $100,000. It was a priceless expression of shock and disbelief. At that moment, I knew I had turned the tables on him. Let me take you back. I grew up in a small town. My family wasn't wealthy, but we had a simple and comfortable life. My father, Mr. Thompson, was a strict and somewhat cold-hearted man. He was always focused on making ends meet and seemed to have little patience for emotions. My mother passed away when I was young, so it was just the two of us living in that old, creaky house. I lived with my father for nearly 10 years. I was never one to sit around and do nothing. I took on many responsibilities around the house. I would go grocery shopping every week, carefully selecting the best deals to stretch our meager budget. Half of the time, I paid for the utilities out of my part-time job earnings. I fixed leaky faucets, patched up holes in the walls, and did everything I could to keep the house running smoothly, all without a single complaint. Life was relatively calm until one fateful day. I was sitting in the living room, reading a book, when my father walked in. He sat down across from me, his face serious. "Marcia," he said, his voice cold, "you owe me $15,000 in rent." I stared at him, thinking he was joking. What? $15,000? Dad, where did this even come from? We've never talked about rent before. But he just sat there, stone-faced, and repeated that I owed him the money. I was in shock. I sat there, my mind blank. There had been no warning, no prior agreement. It was just like he pulled this bill out of thin air. I didn't argue or shout. I was so stunned that I just froze. For the next week, I was in a state of disbelief. And then, as if on cue, things started to go wrong at home. The bills started piling up, the pantry was empty, and the house seemed to be falling apart. My father came to me, looking a bit desperate, asking for my help. That's when it hit me. If he wanted to treat our relationship like a business transaction, then so be it. I sat down at the kitchen table and started to write. I listed every single expense I had paid over the years, the groceries, the utilities, the repairs, and all the random little things I had taken care of. I didn't exaggerate anything, I just stuck to the facts. When I was done, I printed out the invoice and walked into my father's study. I handed it to him without any attitude or drama. "Since we're charging each other now, here's my invoice, too," I said calmly. His eyes widened as he looked at the $100,000 figure on the paper. The color drained from his face, and he just stared at me in silence. It was clear that he hadn't expected this. After that, I decided to stop doing anything extra around the house. I stopped buying groceries, stopped paying the bills, and stopped providing any silent support. I focused on my own space and my own money. The atmosphere at home became incredibly uncomfortable. My father realized how much I had been doing for the household. He never brought up the rent again. Not once. I knew it was time for me to move on. I started saving up every penny I could. I got a better paying job and worked hard to build up my savings. Eventually, I was able to afford my own small apartment. Moving out was the best decision I ever made. I now have a peaceful, drama-free life. I learned a valuable lesson: don't let people take you for granted. If they want to turn family into a business, make sure you have the receipts to prove your worth. If you like stories like this, messy, real, and a little satisfying, hit subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what I post next. Also, comment where you're watching from and what part of the story stood out for you. Peace out.